Welcome back to another SUPboarder video. Over the years we've had loads of opportunities to use different inflatable SUPs, lots of different brands, different shapes, different constructions, and in this video we're going to talk about what we think makes the best iSUP shapes and designs for SUP surfing. Now before we get underway, it's important to note a few things. One is you can SUP surf on pretty much any iSUP out there. Race boards, mega SUPs with 5 people, junior SUPs, anything. They'll all catch a wave, but some will definitely be easier and better than others. And the other thing to note is, remember, in this video we are comparing iSUP to iSUP. We are not comparing an iSUP to a performance hard epoxy board, because unfortunately there still is a big difference between surfing an iSUP to surfing a hard construction epoxy style board. Now in 2018 there is so many inflatable paddle boards on the market to look at, and there is quite a lot that specialise in the surf. But what makes the difference between a iSUP surfing board to a good iSUP surfing board? Well, let's go over the key points now. A big, long, wide iSUP is going to be harder to use than a smaller based iSUP like this one. Okay, you've got to bring into consideration how hard it is to stand on, but a lot of iSUPs have got a lot of volume in their board because of the thickness through the rails. So if you can get away with a smaller iSUP as possible, it will be able to turn on the waves faster, and you will be able to get in and out of the waves much easier than having a rather large, wide, cumbersome board. The outline shape of the board does offer a massive difference to the performance of the board, especially on the bottom turn and the top turn. More pulled in tail boards will offer a bit more grip because of the tail than a wider board, which tends to be a little bit slow and sluggish to turn, especially off the top turns. The stiffness of the boards does make a difference when it comes to trimming the board and using your footwork around the board. If you move back on the board, you want that nose to instantaneously come up so you can either paddle out over waves or get yourself out of a nosedive situation on a wave. The boards like the Red Paddle Co Whip have got extra things like the RSS battens, which then again add to the stiffness, and they definitely are one of the stiffest boards on the market. When it comes to board thickness, definitely the thinner boards, the 4-inch thick boards, are going to give you way more performance than the bigger 6-inch thick boards. That is because the rail shape on an iSUP is the same at the front as it is at the back, and the 4-inch thick boards will allow you to push a bit more rail into the water, give you a bit more grip and drive than the bigger 6-inch thick rails would do. Now when it comes to the bottom shape or rocker line of the board, which is the curve of the board underneath, it is pretty important that the board has enough rocker to get you out of certain situations. Like a board we tested, the JP Surf Air last year, has a nice amount of nose kick and also has a quite large amount of tail kick. But then when you're surfing it, by trimming your body weight back with the tail kick, you can then bring the nose up to get you out of those nosedive situations that other boards on the market wouldn't necessarily do. Fin construction is a pretty big point. The more flexible the fin is, the less drive and performance you're going to get out of your board. The stiffer the fin is, the more performance and the more drive you're going to get out of the board, because as soon as you lean into the turn or the maneuver, the fin is going to stay in its rigid position, forcing the board into the turn. And the final, and we think the most important point when it comes to getting an iSUP surfing well in the surf, is fin placement. If you have your fins situated really close to the rails of the board, right at the tail, then it gives the board way more drive in the bottom turn and grip off the top turn, which is really what you need, because the rail shapes on all iSUPs are just round all the way to the tail. They haven't got that grip that you need, so the fins have to be on the rails, that we think, to give the board that extra big stability and grip on a wave. The board last year that really made us aware of that was the Starboard Hypernut, with the fins right on the rails there. Really made a massive difference to the drive and speed and turning of the board. Also, they had a good quality fin setup on that. They were epoxy glass based fins, so nice and stiff. We hope that information's given you good insight into what we think makes a good surfing SUP, and also a lot of the times you cannot get a go on these boards. Maybe you have to mail order them, or you're getting them from somebody somewhere halfway across the world. So there you can have a look at the dimensions, the shapes, the designs of the boards, the fins, and then hopefully you can make the best decisions for you.